Hi everyone, Ben and I are back with you again for another episode of Strange Encounters Downunder. And this episode we're joined by Pete and Dan from Night Watchers Paranormal. So hi guys.
Hello.
Welcome guys.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on and being part of this. It's really great to I can't wait to ask you lots of questions. But first question is, why don't you tell everyone how you got involved in paranormal investigations?
Okay, I'll take that one. So basically, Pete and I have been mates for, just about nearly 30 years and a long time. So the whole channel started outside of the paranormal. We started doing food videos where we were eating delicacies from around the world and weird foods, things like that. And then we thought that it still wasn't scratching that itch. There was something missing. And we used to watch a lot of stuff together, like horror movies and we sit down and used to watch a lot of ghost adventures and those compilation videos and stuff, real ghosts caught on camera and things like that. So I said to him, let's go do a ghost hunt. Well, our very first video that we ever did doing that was actually just meant to be another video for our channel. But we loved it that much and we thought we should do this, that we thought, okay, that's episode number 1, season 1, and Night Watchers was born. Bang, there we go.
Wow.
Fantastic.
That was going back for 2 years ago. The channel started, so 6 months into this channel.
Yeah.
We decided to change. I remember he goes, "Oh, let's go do some paranormal investigations."
Yeah.
And we both got a history with paranormal activity, so it was just a straight down the line decision. It's like, yeah, let's do this.
We also got to the stage too where we had to make our mind up because we were doing both. And we thought, well, we have to pick a niche. Like, we can't just keep doing both. People are going to go, well, what are you? What do you do?
Yeah.
So we loved it that much. It was a easy decision. Yeah. So bang, we just rebranded and we used to be called Kickback Rickads, and then now so it's just Night Watchers Paranormal Australia. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And where did the name come from? Oh, it's a great name, by the way. I think it's fantastic. Where did the inspiration come for the name?
The Night Watchers Paranormal Australia. Basically, it was a combination of both of us. I think I had the Night Watchers idea, but I think it was something else. I can't remember too much about it. All I know is I had some ideas writing on paper, and then Pete was doing the same, and we just bounced some ideas around. And I can't remember where the actual final Night Watchers. I mean, the Paranormal Australia, that's pretty much a given. We knew.
Yeah.
But the Night Watchers part of it, I can't remember too much. I just remember that we came up with it.
I know. At the end of it, we wanted Paranormal Australia so when our content does go out to the entire globe, is that we wanted people to know that we're from Australia.
Yeah.
And there's some interesting stuff down here in Australia, and we do have paranormal activity down here.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of questions from overseas radio stations and things like that, asking us, so what's the difference between America and Australia, or the UK and Australia? And it's really, it really just, it pops for us.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah.
That's why, like Strange Encounters Down Under, although we haven't been as active, especially now with COVID, but our silent partner in the background who does all our video editing is Barry Taylor, who's also a UFO researcher like Ben and myself. And but I also have an interest in the afterlife, so I've run an afterlife group since about 2012, so where was I going with that, Ben? Oh, yes. So, we wanted to focus on Strange Encounters in Australia too. So that's why that name was born. Yeah. And I think that's really important because there's strange stuff happens all over the planet, doesn't it? I mean, let's face it, so.
Yeah.
And I was told years ago that at that stage anyway, it was really hard to get information out of Australia. Not so much now because there are some podcasts, but there's still not a lot compared to other countries. So, but anyway, you guys said that you had some experiences yourself. So tell us about those, some paranormal experiences.
Okay, my experiences, I've had two really big major experiences in my life. The first one, I think I was about 12 years old, and my dad used to be an interstate truck driver, so us kids were at home a lot with mum. My dad travelled interstate. Now, the weirdest thing, we moved into a house, it was at Annerley, and I remember this as clear as a bell. And I remember my mum always used to sit up at night because there was stuff in this house that used to terrify her. I remember she sent my brother and I to bed because my brother and I shared a room, being siblings. He went to bed and I watched him go to sleep. I jumped into bed and I started reading a book, put the book down, and I'm lying there in bed and I felt these hands come up and grab both my arms and pulled me down to the bed. Now I froze. There was nothing I could do. I was just petrified. And I remember being pinned to the bed most of the night, and then when the sunrise started to rise and the light was coming into the room, the hands disappeared, and I was petrified. I jumped up screaming, looked under the bed, and nothing was there. So for me, that really started to make things click into my head, thinking, okay, what was that? Like, there's no one there, so what are these hands that grabbed me and pinned me to the bed? Then later on in life, when my son was born, now my partner at the time, she was in hospital, and I got home about, he had been born, I got home about 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, the funny thing about that is that there was some really weird activity happening in my house. Like, I had two stepkids at the time, and I had 6-foot houses fenced around my house. Now, it was an old barn on the Sunshine Coast here that was converted into a house. Now, my stepchildren were sleeping in their rooms, and I woke us up one night terrified, screaming that someone was looking into their bedroom window. Now, the problem with that is that I got a 6-foot fence, sensor lights, plus a dog in the backyard. So the person was out. I walked out, the dog was fine, nothing there.
Nothing was good.
Yeah, and then a couple of other things happened where the dog was under the house, absolutely terrified, and I had to crawl under the house because he was the most friendly dog. Crawl under the house, pull him out to feed him, and he wouldn't. He was just cowered. Then I was doing my HR license, truck license, and I'd gone in for a shower, put my wallet down on my bedside table. I was the only one at home at this time. Put my wallet down, went and had a shower, come out, got dressed to go and do my driving test, and my wallet was missing. Now, I went and did the test, come back home, had to borrow money off my in-laws so I could do the test, and then I got home and the wallet was sitting in the exact same spot when I got home.
Yeah.
Now, the final thing that got me was when I got home after my child was born, 1 o'clock in the morning, I had a shower, about to jump into bed, and I lid down, and then all of a sudden, all the lights in the house were flicking on and off. All the cupboard doors, every door in the house slamming, opening and closing. Sounded like people were running up my front and back verandas. And I got up, freaked out, screamed at the top of my lungs, stop, and it all went dead quiet. From there, I jumped in my car, slept in my car for the night, and then I moved us out of there as soon as possible. But those were the two major experiences in my life that made me go, okay, there's something more out there.
Yeah. Just before Dan tells his story, Pete, did you find out any history about the place, the house?
Not really. I knew that some bad things happened there because it was an old farming barn. I'm not sure. I think someone passed away in the barn. From there, I couldn't find the research on it to actually nail it down exactly what had happened there.
Can be hard.
Before the internet days, see? So
Yeah.
just, look it up. Unless you went to the library and looked up the
the place was built when the Sunshine Coast. Like, we've done a lot of research here on the Sunshine Coast with a lot of our investigations with the old heritage listed homes and things like that. But this house I found out it was built around the time of Cobb and Co, when they used to run up Skimpy and back for the gold mine era. So it was pretty interesting. But the research, trying to find stuff pre-internet, like Dan said, is really difficult to do. especially with Sunshine Coast history.
Yeah.
Right. And what about you, Dan? What's your story?
Well, but me personally, I haven't personally had any experiences, but my family has. Now, I was born. We used to live in Sydney, and this place was in Fairfield, and it was one of those old fibro homes. Now, very, very cold home. The front lounge room was that cold that Dad used to keep his beers in that front room rather than the fridge, because it was actually colder than the fridge on certain occasions. Yeah. So, but what happened was, the backstory is a lady that used to live there many, many years ago. She committed suicide and passed away in the home. Now, my mum saw her one night when she was in bed asleep, and my dad was in bed, and she tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Oi, look at this, look at this." He rolled over and saw her too, but he didn't want to believe it. He's a bit of a not skeptic like he is, but he's not. Like he goes, "No, I don't want to believe in it, so I'm going to roll over." So he just said, let it go, just roll over, go to sleep, she'll go away. So he's one of those sort of guys. Anyway, so she sort of freaked out and sort of tried to go back to sleep, doing her over the head and everything. And anyway, then she saw her again a couple of days later, walking through the corridor between one room to the other, while Mum was in the kitchen. And Mum freaked out again. Anyway, Mum saw her a few times and realised that this lady was no harm, but what's going on? And once again, it's pre-internet days. We're going back, 30 odd years ago now. So it was hard to research and find out what the go was, but we ended up finding out that's what happened was a lady died in the house. Anyway, my auntie moved into the house. We moved out about a year later, if that, not long later. And my auntie moved into the house years later. So the other people lived there. They moved out. Don't know if they saw anything or whatever, but my auntie moved in. Well, then one day my auntie says to my mum, "Hey, I seen this lady," and Mum hadn't told anybody. Mum and Dad had never told anybody. And before my auntie saw it, my brother saw her. He came home from school one day, home on his own, and he saw her. He freaked out, ran into the bathroom, locked the door, and waited for Mum to get home. He told Mum exactly what he saw, and it was the exact lady Mum had seen. And then years later, my auntie moved in there, and then told my mum over coffee one day, "Oh, I think there's a lady in this place." And Mum went, "What does she look like?" And she described her, and to the T, it was the same lady. So, and they'd never told each other about it. So when I heard that story, hearing it growing up, it's always made me very curious and intrigued about the paranormal, even though nothing has actually happened to me personally. I always found it
until we started the channel.
Yeah. Free channel days. To make your head spin now.
Do you have any thoughts on do you have any thoughts on what conditions it needs for this sort of manifestation to occur? So is it simply being in the right place at the right time? What do you think?
I personally, I think yes, in a way.
Yeah.
I think if there's somewhere, you've got to look at the history of the land underneath. Anywhere can be haunted. A new place can be haunted. An old place can be haunted. But it's what's happened on the land, right? Now, if there's been something that's been tragic happen on that land, 100%. Now, if it's an older place, it might not necessarily be the land. It could be someone's been murdered or something very tragic has happened in there.
Yeah.
Or I think family members, when family members see their loved ones, I think you need specific things to happen to get activity. Okay. Now, especially with loved ones, if a loved one's passed away and it hasn't said their final goodbyes to that person, like a tragic accident, then sometimes those spirits are going to want to say goodbye before they leave. And that's why people see spirits of loved ones and things like that. But I think it has to be something really specific for it to be activity. Now, I believe in demonic possession and all that kind of stuff. I've had a very religious upbringing, but for me, I think they're extremely rare. Now, looking at that, you've got to look at what the person is like, Normally, a demonic entity or a spirit of some form will attach themselves to that person when they're at their weakest. Yeah, so I think you need very specific things to happen to see apparitions. And I think, like, Dan and I always go into an investigation. And what do you say, mate?
Oh, becoming love, peace, and respect. I say it 100 times during an investigation.
Yeah, and I think if you go into an investigation like that, you're going to have activity, because a lot of people have got to realise that spirits aren't there for our beck and call.
No.
If they can interact with you, they're going to interact. If they don't, they're not.
Yeah.
So the way you go in, it's certain things that need to happen or things that have happened on that location, and the way you interact with them is whether or not you're going to get activity.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think too, like I know in UFO research, I've found over the years that the types of people who report close encounters, but other things as well, like often that they don't just have close encounters, they'll have spontaneous mediumship experiences, or they'll have poltergeist, or they'll see apparitions, ghosts, talk to dead people, all that sort of stuff. And I find that those people have many things that happen to them, whereas other people say, I've never had a strange thing happen to me in my life. So I think maybe there's a connection there with the person themselves. What do you think?
I think so. I think it's what to do with people, like you said, the people that do see things all the time and have things happen to them all the time. I think it's also too it's to do with their aura, their energy, and it's also to do with the more that you've experienced and the more that you're around things. I think the more you open yourself up. Like us, when we first started, we had hardly got any sort of evidence. Well, we did get stuff, but we've noticed that over the last, say, year, it's just been ramping. Like I think it's also to do with energy. Like him and I have known each other for 30. We're like brothers, and we just feed off each other and bounce off each other. So when we go into an investigation, we're like a continuous snowball of energy that we're just giving off, and we're always saying, we come, like you said, love, peace, and respect. We wish you no harm. We just want to communicate with you. We tell them what this device does this, and it's not going to hurt you. So I think we're giving off a lot of love and positive energy. And I think positive energy is something that builds, and therefore our energy is feeding any entities that are there. So I think, yes, anybody that has a lot of experiences, I think it's to do with that, is that they're always the more that happens to them, the more they're going to get it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. What about stress levels though? Like you said, you've seen a lot happen in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face it, everyone on the planet's been under stress for the last 2 years. And I was reading an article by an investigator, a paranormal guy in Sydney, saying that they'd had a lot more calls last year than they ordinarily do. So, and I think that there might be a link between the stress levels, anxiety, even trauma, that sort of opens the door or a portal to the paranormal somehow. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Well, you have a look what this pandemic's done to a lot of people. A lot of people lost jobs, lost businesses, stress levels have gone through the roof. So I guess, like I was saying before about demonic entities and spirits that feed off negative energy, if you have got a group of people stressed, that's just going to feed them. And there are things, people say that the veil is thinning between the paranormal world and the living world. And I think things like this, where people are stressing and crimes ramping up, and because of the pandemic, of course, it's going to feed entities to come over into our plane and do what they want. Like that's one thing I found with our investigations is when we first started, we had a bit of activity here and there. Now we go out for a 2-hour, 3-hour investigation. 9 times out of 10, we've got activity, and it's good, solid activity as well. Where before, pre-pandemic, it wasn't so bad. There wasn't a lot of activity. So yes, I think there is a big a big thing where people with negative feelings are going to push up and ramp up activity. It goes without saying, I think.
Yeah. And what about so what are some of those things that you investigate? What sort of equipment do you use, or do you use any, or and what's a typical sort of investigation that you would do?
Well, we've got a pretty big bag of tricks. So we go in, we've got some tools. We go in with we've got our standards. So we've got our K2 meter, which is an EMF detector. That's basically, if anyone that doesn't know what they are watching, that's just a detector that picks up EMF. and it has little coloured lights on it. So if it goes right up to the red, then it's like a spike. It's big, or we can draw it down to the green. So we've got the K2 meter. We use the REM pod, which is basically it's an aerial that comes out with a blue light, and if something gets close enough to it, it'll make a noise activate and make a noise and light up. So we've got the K2, the REM pod. We use the Spirit Box, or we use the Necrophonic app. Now, a lot of people say, oh, the Necrophonic app, yada, yada, yada. Yes, we do believe there's a lot of pre-built-in voices in it. We've heard the same voices come through many times, but we ignore them. We're not listening for those. We sort of block them out. We're looking for those little ones that come through, those little bursts of the intelligent answers. So we'll say, how many men are standing, and we've done it many times. How many men are standing here? 2.
Perfect example of that.
Perfect example is the first time we ever used the Necrophonic app, which was at the Caloundra Cemetery. There was 4 of us there. There was 3 males and a female. We said, how many of us are standing here? 4. How many of us are men? 3. How many of us are women? 1. And that was all in a row. So it gave us intelligent responses. So from that point on, we went, okay, that can't be just random built-in stuff. So therefore, even to this day, we're still testing that Necrophonic out. We're still seeing what comes through. And we actually had a perfect one at the Australian Hotel, where we had the K2 meter sitting down next to one of our cat balls, which we use as well, with little balls that you got to physically touch them from the light up. They call them cat balls or ghost balls, whatever. But we had them sitting there. Anyway, we had the Necrophonic because we kept asking for this entity, can you please touch the device? Can you please touch the ball or the K2, whatever? Then you hear this thing come through. So that the K2 went off, and then at the exact same time, the ball lit up, and it said, just touch the goddamn ball. Yeah. That's the exact words that came out of it. So once again, that can't be a random spit out, you know. So so there's little things like that. So we're always taking that Necrophonic and testing its limits and see what we can get out of it. So you've got the K2, the Necrophonic, the Spirit Box, the REM pod, thermal cam. We use the thermal imager too, check things out. We've also got voice recorder.
Got a pendulum. What else?
We've got the which we don't use all the time, but we've got the plasma ball. Apparently, too, the plasma ball, they can feed off the energy out of it. But a lot of people used to get them to try and touch it, and then you're trying to see all these spikes. If people know the plasma ball is, you're trying to see all these tentacles, and if you touch it, they all pinpoint to one spot, sort of thing. But the easy way to do it is you get a bulb. It's got to be one of those
ones with the gas inside.
The gas inside them.
Yeah.
Curly one. You tape it. You actually tape it to the ball, and what happens is it'll then the energy from the ball, the plasma ball, ignites the bulb and turns it on. But if something is to touch the ball, it will turn the light off. Taking that. So the best way to use them is to do it that way, and we've actually had it happen where the bulb will be on and it will go off. Yeah, and then we'd ask it, say, can you do that again? Can you please touch the ball now? Bang, and it will turn the light off. So we've got the plasma ball.
Yeah, so much. We also do a phone experiment. Basically, the last time we did this was a video for Paraflex in the United States. Now, we went to a church down at Petrie. Yeah. Now, this church was moved on site. This church is really like you walk into it at night and you feel like hitting a wall. Yeah. So what we did, we set up a camera on just a normal mobile phone on the altar. Yep. Then we went outside with another camera and we called that phone. Dan stayed inside, answered the phone, come out to me, and then we started asking questions. We said, "Oh, is there any presence in the church?" Yeah. And one of the first responses we got was "Father." Now it's a church, and apparently there was something happened there with a preacher, father. Yeah. And it was a male voice that come through too. Yeah. So we do those type of experiments too. Yeah. We also do the sensory deprivation session. Yeah. Basically, what I do,
the Estes method.
Estes method. Yeah. I sit in a chair. I get blindfolded with headphones on, plugged into Spirit Box. And Dan goes outside of where we are and asks questions. Now, I've been touched, I've been prodded, I've had intelligent responses, I've been grabbed. I've had so many different experiences with it. And for me personally, I think it's a pure rush to do that, to experience that. But we have so many different devices. It's not funny.
With that there, if anybody watches one of our latest investigations, we did it called Tax Agent Ghost. I think we named it. Couldn't give it away because it was a branded business and we couldn't give it a name. Yeah. So we just called it Tax Agent Ghost. Now, he done a sensory depth. I was in the very next room and I could hear movement. And I thought it was just him sliding around in his chair. It wasn't. No. And it was only him and I up there. So anyway, he got grabbed. And not just that, he got grabbed a few times, but also when we finished, he noticed that he had some water drops on his leg. Some wet, like 2 round dots on his leg where like it looked like a water drip there. Yet I felt up above him, bone dry, there was nothing there.
No water.
And I still took a screenshot from about a minute prior and his leg was dry. Nothing there.
No, I had no water with me in the room.
No water. We had no water in there.
So that was a funny investigation too, because when I got touched from my knee right up to my butt.
Yeah.
Like it ran, whatever it did, right up my leg. It just
that was the worst
startled me.
Worst I've ever heard him. That was like I've heard him yell and stuff before, but that was the worst. I came busted in there.
Didn't expect that one.
Is there any differential between like if you get touched, like whether it would be like a male entity or a female entity? Do you have any sort of like, or is that a feeling or?
Sometimes no. There's no feeling to it. Basically, it actually feels like someone physically touching you.
Yeah.
Like when we did an investigation at a World War II bathhouse, and it was a beautiful location. Like the history there was just amazing. But when we set up to do the sensory deprivation the first time, I was getting poked and prodded, and the camera malfunctioned. It showed that it was recording, but it didn't record. So I had to do that sensory depth again. Now, for me, it felt like a male's hand. It was a big hand that just grabbed the top of my knee, and I nearly had a heart attack.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, you don't feel like it's male or female, but you can feel the difference between a strong hand and a more feminine hand.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine Shaquille O'Neal grabbing you from beyond the grave, you know, as compared to, you know, Kim Kardashian or something, you know, you'd have that difference between, you know, a 7 foot, 8 foot tall basketballer grabbing you.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point that you make there, is that when I got touched on the knee, it was a big hand. But when I got touched up, the hand ran up the side from my knee to my butt, it felt very light and small. So it was a completely different feel.
Yeah. And that to me sounds more like a sexual, physical caressing.
I hope not.
Move, you know, like in other words, a woman, you know, touching along the leg.
Yeah. It almost had a fascination.
Yeah.
Good
question.
Yeah. Do you feel that there's, like, when you do that sort of methodology, do you feel that there's a chance of possession to yourself, or have you ever had that experience?
To be honest, we take a lot of precautions before even. Like,
because you could just pow.
Talismans and charms and stuff like that. Just to, like, I wear the hamster and the evil eye. Yeah, that's about pushing out bad energy, bringing in that good energy. We also, when we leave a location, what do?
Oh, we always say, you know, you're not allowed to follow us home. You're bound here. You're forbidden. But tell them about the stay away.
Yeah, stay away.
Tell them about the when we did it with the investigation for girls, when you were up in the thing.
Oh,
and you had
yeah. Well, interesting things have been, like, I don't claim to be medium or anything of that nature. Now, I think with things attaching themselves, I guess. I did a sensory deprivation session at the Majestic Theatre in Pomona. Now, this is a old, silent movie theatre. Beautiful location, and it's been there for over 100 years. They've just had their 100th-year birthday. Yep. Now, when I did my sensory deprivation, it was really unusual. I sat there and I felt body heat, from about 2 meters away. I could feel like someone standing there. Like, this doesn't seem right. And I felt it get closer to the point it was standing right beside me. Then on top of that, I got a flash, like a vision, just pumped into my head. And it was 2 images. One was of like a miner back in the early 1910 period. And then I got a really gruesome image, which was horrific, where someone was being disemboweled or impaled. Now, absolutely just phenomenal, mind-blowing, to the point where I got ill. I had to actually get up and leave the sensory depth and go outside to ground myself. And what I mean is to get outside of the location and just pick up a bit of dirt, rub it, and you know, I was really feeling ill, and it really affected me, that did. And then after that, really interesting thing, the team that come up from South Australia that investigated with us at that location, we were there for 3 hours. We did a live stream. They went back to South Australia, and I'm close with the head of that group. Now, they were, because I talk to her all the time, and she said she was going out to do an investigation that night, and they're back in South Australia. I'm here in Queensland. Now, I got a sharp pain in my head, and it hurt. I had to close my eyes, and then this image popped in of this building with front promenade, and I got this image of a guy in cap, plaided shirt, like the plaids, jeans, and a pair of boots. And I had the feeling that it had nothing to do with paranormal, but he was at this location. Now, she never told me where they were going. I rang her and said, about half an hour later, because I had a splitting headache, I said to her, I said, look, I just had this vision. I don't know if it's a vision, I don't know what it was, but this image, like this little picture show, come up in my head, and I explained the whole situation to her. And she goes, okay, no dramas, no dramas. So she went to the location. Then and this is caught live on one of her lives, so there's actual evidence of this happening. There was a guy that rocked up while she's doing a live there. There was a guy that rocked up saying, she goes, oh, hello, at an abandoned location. And he goes, oh, hi. She goes, oh, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm looking to film some documentary stuff with my mate. So everything that I told her was true, came true.
Yeah, you had actually told him that. Yeah, because when he first told her, he said, I've got a vision, and this guy's going to be there, and he's going to be there filming or something.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
When she got there,
she freaked out, rang me back, and was like, you just spun my mind, you know? And for me, I'm like, well, I'm in Queensland, she's in South Australia. I didn't expect to describe the place where she went to a T, which I've never seen, explain the situation that happened, and for her to go on a live, go, you're right, Pete, holy crap. She didn't expect it, and neither did I. So I guess from there I had, a premonition, which I'm not psychic at all. And for that happened to me is amazing.
It's just very weird that we've never had anything like that happen before, ever. And and then it just happened, you know. So not sitting here claiming that he's psychic or medium or anything like that. Neither of us have any abilities. It's just weird that something like that has happened. So the question is he going through changes? Are things starting to develop? Or is it just a coincidence, a one-off thing? We don't know. You know?
Sort of goes back to what you were saying before, Pete, in that the more you get into it, the more you become more aware of things and maybe your abilities. Because I think that when you get into certain fields, and I'm also in the healing fields as well, of energy healing too, so that your antenna expand. Your spider senses expand, and the more you focus on it, the more you are fully aware of, or much more aware of what's going on, and not just in this realm, but in the unseen realms as well.
Well,
I agree.
So I wanted to ask you, do you ever take mediums out with you?
We can both answer this. Basically, we never did, and then we actually we did with what do they call Haunted Downunder. Haunted Downunder. They're friends of ours that we first hooked up with in the industry, and we went out on a video with them, and they're down in Brisbane. Anyway, they got a girl on their team called Hayley. Lovely girl, and we were doing an investigation with them, and then she started saying things. She had a entity coming through. Wouldn't leave her alone. Kept nagging her, and she's like, "Oh, look, I've just got to get this out of my way because he keeps nagging me." Is there a did you used to know someone with the letter J? You know, she started rambling off all this stuff, and it was all to the T. It was his cousin, and coming through, and she knew nothing of this. And his actual name was Jay. Well, they called him Jay.
His name was Justin.
Yeah, they called him Jay. Yeah. So he came through this letter. This letter Jay. He kept telling me Jay, and that's because that's what they used to call him. Down to the car that they used to have in photos in the old days, where they were standing there for a family photo shoot.
There was an interesting photo that was taken of all us grandchildren, and no one would describe this. And she described the first time I met this girl. She described it to a T. It was a photo taken in front of a white weatherboard home, my uncle's place, in front of a yellow Corvette, with all us kids only, and there was 13. And she described everything in that photo. I'd never met this girl before, so I think with mediums, if you get the right ones, they are amazing.
Well, she was the first one, and then we went out with was there anyone between her?
Prior Paranormal.
So yes, Prior Paranormal with Dwayne Simpson and the team at Prior Paranormal. Basically, they had 2 mediums come out with them, and they were brilliant. They both got
amazing
different sort of. They got the same thing, but different things coming through them, but they were leading to the same thing. And that's when we did our 3-part series at the old Petrie Town. We did a 3-part series there in season 3, and that's a great view. And then we went out with just recently Marnie Steele. She's absolutely brilliant. And the weird thing about that is, you take it, man. Go for it.
Very interesting is Marnie. She's actually an ordained minister as well, but she views things from a very scientific viewpoint, which is really interesting in the paranormal. It's basically how we're looking at it. We're trying to bridge that gap between the known science and the unknown paranormal. And by using science to a certain degree with people like that, absolutely amazing. Now, she had this vision of 40 plus 1 plus 1. Now, the interesting thing about that, she kept rabbiting on about this 40 plus 1 plus 1. Then we went to the cemetery where we were investigating together, and down come this tour guide and she goes to this tour guide, is there anything about 40 plus 1 plus 1? And the tour guide goes, interesting thing you should ask, why you should ask that. Down the back, there was some convicts that were buried on this site. There were 40 convicts, but there was 1 woman and 1 rich person that actually got a tombstone. So that's the 41 plus 1. And she had no idea about it, but it is documented there on a plaque, 41 plus 1.
Yeah.
Now, it was really interesting. And her mind was blown. Our minds were like, wow, that is awesome.
But it's also the fact too is that when she had this premonition or vision, it was the days leading up to it. She kept telling him, I keep getting this 40 plus 1 plus 1. She didn't know where we were going or what was it. So she couldn't research it beforehand because she didn't know where we were going to go until last minute. But part of that vision, she kept getting this vision of like a grave, the size of a grave basically, but blood. Like thick blood and dirt and rocks and stuff. And in the premonition world or whatever, she said that's like a sign of execution. Like a lot of deaths in the one spot because it's a pool of blood. Anyway, and that's what happened. It was 40 people plus 1 plus 42 people in total that were executed. So because we couldn't really give away the location in the video, that's why I named it Cemetery 42. That's where it came from. So if you watch Cemetery,
it's one of those lovely tour companies that our location you're not allowed to use, and people like that. So we had to name it.
We had to cut a lot of parts of the video out, and
unfortunately,
do a lot of title stuff, so that way it wasn't showing this or showing that. So we named it Cemetery 42, and that's the reason why.
When you get sorry, it's just a quick one. When you go to a location, do you prefer to have as much information about that location, or go with a little less information? Or do you find that helpful in any way in different situations?
I like to go in cold. That's me. I like to go in cold. He's different. No. He's all research and I like to go in cold because that way I'm not expecting, or if something comes through, I don't try and automatically go, that's that.
Yeah.
Because that's when you can automatically start to perceive. Because I'm the skeptic in the two of us. I came into this as a mad skeptic. No, so I mean, I'm a full believer. But I'm very much the one that's going to go, That's moving. Is that this first? Which he does too now. We both debunk. We always try and debunk things first.
Which I really enjoyed in the video that I watched, because I watched the one in the little cemetery on the Sunshine Coast, and the cane toads are hopping around. Debunked,
Exactly.
and that's the stuff that you should be doing too. Like that's doing due diligence with an investigation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We had an investigation at the Woombai Hotel. Now we saw something moving, and we're both thought, no, hang on a second. We saw the aircon on blowing, and the stuff down on the table was moving, so we debunked it.
Yeah.
But as for me, I like doing my research for me. To get that history and find out what's going on. But if we're taking a medium with us, which we will be doing in the future, then I like them going in cold. I'm like, Dan, they've got to go in cold. Yeah. So if they do, like with Marnie, and she's an amazing person. You guys have got to have a chat to her. She is phenomenal.
Yeah, sounds good.
But when she went in there cold and had no idea where we're going until the last minute, and then come out with all this stuff, that just proves to me that mediums are, if you get the right person that, because let's face it, there's a lot of fakes out there. But when you get someone that has that ability and they prove it to you, that's something completely different.
Yeah, and I went into that. Investigation without it sounding bad or rude, but I went into it thinking this person's got a lot to prove. I'm the biggest skeptic when it comes to mediums and psychics and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think, okay, what's she going to come up with, and I knew nothing of the place. I was Pete knew a little bit. I knew nothing of the place.
I actually didn't even know about the 40 plus 1 plus 1. So
no, you didn't know about that. I'm just saying, like, you knew a little bit where we're going. Yeah. But so, and for her to come up with the things that she did, and then to have it proved to us by the tour guide coming in telling us, oh, bang, 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 this and this. Yeah. I was blown away. I was like, you'll see it in the video. I'm like, what? Sorry, what did you say? Like, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask you about your locations. You've mentioned cemeteries and old buildings. What other places do you go to?
Oh, there's a fair few.
Wow. Over 4 seasons of filming, we've been to historical homes, we've been to hospitals, we've been to museums, we went to Old Gympie Gold Mine Historical Museum, with beautiful location. Yeah. Awesome activity in that place too. You name it.
Maryborough Museum. No, you said that.
War Memorial, the Military Museum. Yeah. We do cemeteries, but if there's activities, we do private home investigations as well,
which we want to try and do more of. So if anybody has a place out there they feel is haunted, please get in touch with us. So we'll travel to a certain extent. But yeah, we want to try and do some more homes. We have done plenty of homes, and they've been great. They've turned out to be great locations and great videos.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you to know what are there specific sorts of situations that appear in, say, hospitals as opposed to military museums, as opposed to private homes? Like, how do they differentiate?
Well, the only hospital that we can actually say that we've done at this present stage, because our where we are, they're very far and few between, and there's no real abandoned hospitals up here. But we went to a place up here in Yamundi. Now, this place on one of our videos, season one, the Sunny Bray private hospital. It was a maternity hospital back in the war days, and we had some serious activity happening there. Yeah. But also, what was the other one? The hospital at the
But with that Sunny Bray, the interesting thing there was a German doctor that used to work there back around the war. Now, we had an EVP come through of a German accent, and it was translated for us that it said doctor.
Yeah, doctor. Yeah.
So, and that was a very tragic. The thing with that location too is that they're on that site. There's back in the war period, a lot of children that were born with disfigurements were put to death because they didn't know how to deal with it back then. So we went to the area around the area where these children were buried, and there's a lot of them there.
Out in the yard, no electricity around.
Nothing, no electricity around anywhere. But our K2 meter was in the red constantly, and we're getting EVPs come through. It was amazing. Yeah. But the other place we had was the dental hospital at Gympie Gold Mine.
Oh yeah.
Museum. Now,
an old lady had been spotted, been sitting on the bed.
Yeah. And the thing is that we actually watched we set up on this old bed that was used in the war. Now, on this bed, we set up our ghost ball or cat ball, our REM pod, our music box,
our K2.
Our K2. Now, Dan and I asked questions. Dan was asking the questions, oh, can you activate this one first? Bang, it'd activate. Can you activate the music box? Bang, music box went off. Can you activate the K2 meter? Bang, the K2 activated. Okay, thank you. Activate the REM pod. It went off. Like 4 devices, one after each other. And not only that, is that we had so much movement there that it was ridiculous. Yeah. Like there's, you know, the weights that they use, the scales with the little weight. We were filming and I'm pointing down, looking at all these devices going off, getting really excited about that. And then out of the corner of his eyes, saw this heavy weight start swinging by itself.
I saw it from nothing and just started going like that from nothing. And I went, oh my God. And as we turned, you can see it actually still swaying. And it was amazing, even to the point where, because we'd been there prior, we'd already been there on another location, and we'd seen there's a mannequin in there, a nurse, and there's her dress, and we'd seen her dress moving before in the previous time. So we said, okay, let's see if we can get this dress, ramp it up, and see if we can get this dress moving. Well, we swear that we saw it moving, right? You know, because when we saw it moving, the camera was still back behind us on a tripod. So by the time I ran back and got it and brought it forward, you couldn't see it moving anymore. But we know ourselves what we saw. We swear that we saw it moving slightly, but it was moving.
So we've been to so many different locations where there's one cemetery that we go to in Manchester, now up in the hills near Malini. This place is bad. Like you walk in there, top of the cemetery feels fine. You get down to the back, and there's just a horrible feeling. Like it feels like you're being watched. And we've had so much activity right there.
Right on the bush. It's all bush there. Right on the bush edge. Yeah. Sorry, you can go.
No.
But it's basically, it's at the top. It's just all, the cemetery. But down the bottom, it's actually around where all the wall of remembrance. And like it's right on the bushland. And the first time we went there, on our one of our EVPs, we call it, was there was a couple, but one of them was the power of Satan came through. And then not long after that, we had a female come through saying, I wish to live. And just the negative feeling down there, it was like walking through thick muck. That was what was the feeling. And so and every time we go there, that same feeling. That was one of the locations we did for an exclusive for Paraplex. And our devices were just going berserk there as well. Crazy,
What would be the most active location that you've been to? Would that be one of them?
I think the most active we've been to is the dental hospital at Gympie Gold Mine Historical Museum. It was just constant. We walked in there, devices were going off left, right, and centre, and you could feel like something was in there with you. Well, it was amazing.
We also did that as because when we had to do these exclusive videos for Paraplex, it was basically we had to get in and get them done. So we did a lot of return twos. We did 5 exclusive episodes, but they were pretty much all return twos. And we'd already been to the Gympie Gold Mine before, and but this one we did for the Paraplex. We did a sensory deprivation down in the where the big what do you call
the steamer to heat up the water for steam engines.
It's a big thing. Anyway, we put all the coal in that furnace thing. He's sitting in front of that doing a sensory deprivation. He got grabbed there. You got grabbed and the K2 was going berserk.
And you asked the questions like a real intelligent.
I asked a couple of really intelligent responses. We get a lot of intelligent responses. One thing we really get a lot of, and I've noticed this lately, is we don't notice them at the time until I'm doing the editing. The disembodied voices we get. The first time we ever got one that was like really, wow, what was that? Stephen? Something about Stephen.
No, there's another one.
We did one at our very first residential investigation was Ghost in the Radio, I named it. And Ghost, something like that. Ghost in the Radio, And that was season 2 I think, 2. And I was actually doing the sensory depth this time. He usually doesn't, but this is when we first started doing it. And I heard this Stephen came through. And then I've yelled it out. They've heard me in the other room, and they've gone, "Oh, Stephen!" Well, right in the camera, like right in the actual camera, it sounded like someone went, "Stephen," like that, like really loud, like Stephen. And it was like, so we've had a lot of disembodied voices, so many.
And another really good disembodied voice we got was at Search for Emily at the park we did with Haunted Down Under in season 1.
Yeah.
We're actually up on the bridge doing a spirit box session, and in the background you could hear a woman screaming and a gunshot. Now, we found in the history that a woman was killed in that park, shot.
Yeah.
So we didn't hear it that night, but it came through so clear and crystal on that on the camera. It was ridiculous. If you watch
that episode, I highlight that. You can hear it clear as day.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it? When you
It's amazing.
things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big time.
I was going to ask you just quickly, because this always comes up in the paranormal field anyway. What are your thoughts on orbs that show up in photos?
Okay, so orbs is something that when we first got into this, we didn't know much about. So, I do all the video editing, and I've been in graphic design, doing that for many years as well. But I was not a big one on knowing too much about with bright lights facing at a camera and this and that, and you get reflections, you can get a lens flip. Now, the very first video we ever done, I named it, is this the clearest orb you've ever seen? Because in our eyes at the time, we thought we'd caught an orb. We legitimately thought, and I'm not saying that it's not. We're not saying it's not, and we're not saying it is. It's up to the viewer to work out, use their discretion and work out what they want to think it is. But in saying it, when I first saw it, we thought, "Oh, this is the clearest orb we've ever seen." Like, because it was in the middle, it was like the way it actually moved and the way it was between us. And anyway, now I look at it and go, I know a little bit more about how lens flares work, and now I'm sort of like, I'm now more, oh crap, is it a lens flare? but now just leaving it up to people to make up their own mind. And that's one thing we do with our videos. You notice when I'm putting titles up, I always put a question mark in it, because it's like, this is what I think it said. After I've listened to it 30 times, it's the same thing I'm hearing. You guys, if you guys are hearing something else, we always put it out there for people to put it in the comments or let us know. At 16 minutes 40, we think it's this, not that, We always leave it up to the audience too.
I think as for me, I think if you're going to follow this paranormal journey, you've got to go under that paranormal umbrella. Yeah. You've got to keep your mind open to everything. Yeah. Every aspect of the paranormal, keep your mind open to it. You can't be so dogmatic. Like we had an experience of, because we've got our own Facebook group, and I think it's 2.3 thousand members, and we have a lot of discussions on that group. But I remember seeing other groups where, like, someone that had a loved one pass away goes, "Oh, I saw this. Could it be an orb? Could that orb be my loved one?" And I've seen people tear those people apart, and it's absolutely disgusting. I think. But if you're going to look at this, don't be so dogmatic. Don't be so narrow-minded. Keep your mind open, because we don't know. We're like, this is how I look at it. We're like monkeys on a keyboard on a computer with the power when it comes to the paranormal. Until science can prove it, we're just guesstimating.
One thing that I always tell people, and always comes up in any podcast or any interview we do, is nobody's a professional in this field. There's people that have been doing it longer than us and a bit more experience, but unless someone has actually died, gone to the other side, studied it for a few years and got a degree, come back and then tell us how it all works, then there's no such thing as a professional. They can say it till they're blue in the face. They've just more experience. They've had different experiences. They've got a bit more of an understanding of certain things. But nobody in this field is a professional. That's just how we see it,
Yeah.
Very good.
We're all learning.
Exactly. Yeah. Guys, we're running out of time. I was going to talk to you about the Mapleton Cemetery footage, but I'd love to have you back soon too. Maybe we can talk about that and a few other things. But I've got one burning question I've got to ask you before we wind up. Why do paranormal investigators always wear black?
I knew you were going to say that.
For me, it's slimming. That's why I wear black. It's
Same here.
Well, I don't know. I think it's the whole stigma of paranormal being mysterious and stuff like that. That's why people wear black. It's just mysterious. It makes it look ooh. And
Cool.
even our emblem, our logo, you can see we're not smiling, and it's like you got to have this serious look on your face. But when we get out and do investigations, we like joking, mucking around.
We're always smiling and laughing and having a joke, and yeah, exactly. Right. That's just our personalities. But I think it's right. I think it's right what he said. I think the black thing is just the color that comes with the industry. I think it's like, why do people wear black at a funeral? It's just that's the color you wear. I think it's also too because a lot of the time it's at night time. You want to sort of blend in. I don't know. It's just the color we wear. I think and black is cool.
Yeah, it is. At the end of the day, it is cool. That's correct.
Funny. Well, look, it's been great having you guys on. I've really enjoyed it.
Yes.
I feel like we've just scratched the surface in getting to know you. So that's why I'd love to have you back.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Tell everyone where they can find your videos and find you on Facebook, Instagram, wherever it is.
Yeah, okay, so just if people want a quick look, just go straight to Google, type in Night Watchers Paranormal Australia, and boom, all comes up. So we're on Facebook. We've got a group, which is Night Watchers Paranormal Australia -group, and then bang, it'll come up. We've got our Facebook page, which is Night Watchers Paranormal. Then we've also got our
Twitter account, which is Night Watchers Paranormal Australia. We have Instagram account, Night Watchers Paranormal.
Yeah.
We have our own personal accounts, Pete Casalado and Daniel Rickard.
Yeah.
We also have email, which is nightwatchersparanormal@gmail.com.
Yeah.
We also have
the website is under construction at the moment. That actually is nightwatchersparanormalaustralia.com, but give it a few weeks. It's going to be up it's under maintenance at the moment.
And of course, YouTube, Night Watchers Paranormal Australia. We also have a merch store on that, which is Night Watchers Paranormal Australia.
Yeah. So, like I said, if you go to Google and just type that in, Night Watchers Paranormal Australia, all this, it's just a list.
Pops up.
Take your pick. Take your pick.
And you want people's stories, don't you? You want people to contact you and come out and say, look, something's happened, and we'd love to talk to you, or come and have an investigation.
Exactly. We're based on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. If anybody's watching and that has a place that they feel is they've got something going on, even if they think it might not be haunted or I'm not sure what's going on, get in touch with us. Send us an email, nightwatchersparanormal@gmail.com. Send us an email. We'll get in touch with you back. There's no silly questions, anything. Just get in touch with us. And we're happy to come out if it's close enough for us.
We'll travel all the way out to Maryborough down to the Gold Coast.
Yeah, sort of deal. So around. And obviously we don't charge for something like that. We come in and we'll do an investigation. Obviously, we make sure it's fine that it gets filmed and goes on YouTube. If it doesn't and they don't want that, we can still come and do the investigation and have a look and do it for them. So please get in touch with us.
Yeah, because I do I do investigations outside of YouTube stuff too, when people are actually experiencing really traumatic things and aren't sure what's happening to them. We'll go out and do a preliminary investigation for the church and stuff like that. So Dan's getting into that with me more now. So as we develop that side of it, we do have our YouTube Paraflex Ghostflex side, but we do personal private home investigations.
And when we do the home investigations and they are filmed, they're always done anonymously. So we make sure that all photos are down and anything of kids and stuff is turned away or put down. All privacy stuff is taken care of. Addresses aren't given out, all that sort of stuff. It's all done with dignity and respect.
Yeah.
Great.
Fantastic.
Terrific. Well, like I said, it's been great having you, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much. We really
appreciate you having us on your show. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely brilliant. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye, everyone, and see you in the next episode. And remember, if you like this episode, remember to like it, subscribe, hit the bell, and make sure you get the notifications of future episodes as they're posted to the Strange Encounters Down Under YouTube channel. Bye for now.